Save me, O God, the swelling floods break in upon my soul. I sink and sorrows on my head, like mighty waters roll, like mighty waters roll.
Hello, everybody. So I'm going to try and record some videos for you. We'll go through, there's a really great website called musictheory.net, and they have all kinds of free lessons on there. So I figured I would just take you through some of those that I think might be helpful for us as we seek to learn how to read music, get better at singing as a community, which we all can constantly, we're always needing to work on improvement. So we'll never really arrive at this, but if we always have that attitude of trying to learn and get better, then I think as we raise up the next generation of Covenant Reformed Church, our children, they're going to be raised within a culture that values music and values singing and values good singing and good music particularly. So let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be doing on the screen, and then we can go from there. But today we're just going to look at the staff, learn how to read the notes on the staff, and associate it with a piano keyboard, which is really important in music theory. Western music theory is being able to know what you're looking at on a piece of music and be able to associate that with a keyboard, a piano keyboard. It'll make life so much easier. All right, so let me show you what we're looking at here. Okay, so this is the staff. And you can see here, this is basically just going to take us through these lessons. And they have these statements down here, and it'll show you visually what's happening up here on the staff. So it says, the staff is the foundation upon which notes are drawn. And that's true. You can see these 5 lines here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and they have the nice numbers there for us. There's 4 spaces. There's 5 lines. And every line or space represents a note on the keyboard. And you can see they're actually showing you what keys on the keyboard are represented by the lines and spaces over here. You start off with an E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. So you don't need to know all that now. It's just kind of showing you that this is what the correspondence is. When you're looking at the staff, it is representing what's happening here on the keyboard. So we talked about this on Sunday a little bit. It is this clef here and this clef here. They're the 2 that we use as part of the grand staff. This is the grand staff. This is the G clef. Now remember that we said it wrapped around a particular line. You can see, and it's kind of ornate, but it wraps around this line here, wraps around it. And this is called the G clef. This one wraps around this line right here with the 2 dots on either side of it, and that is the F clef. So this is the G clef here, and this is the F clef. Now, modern ways of describing these are the treble clef and the bass clef. I don't like that as much because it doesn't tell you really what its use is. And its use is to tell you where you are on the lines. And this is the G line, if this is the staff, the clef that you're looking at. And this is the F line, if this is the clef that you're looking at. So this is the G clef. Okay, so this is what it'll look like. It'll be all the way on the left, and you'll see this symbol here, and that kind of puts us in context. So now we know that this is a G, and then now we can figure out what all the other lines and spaces are related to it. So they're basically just saying the same thing. This wraps around the G. Any note that's on this line is a G. Okay, pretty easy. That's a G. Repetition is key to learning, so I'm probably going to be repeating myself a lot. This is the G clef. It wraps around this line, which when you see this clef, this is G. Therefore, the next space. So this is line represents a note. The space then also represents a note, and that's going to be an A, because if you remember, the Western music alphabet only goes from A to G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts over again. So if we keep going up, the next note, the next line is going to be B. And then the process continues all the way up. G to G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So they ask the question, what happens when you run out of space? Well, you have what's called ledger lines, and you can keep adding notes above them. So you basically just add a line, and then that becomes an A. And then the note above that would be a line underneath it, and that would be a B. So this is the G clef. Tells us that this line is a G. And then you have an A, a B, a C, a D, all the way up. And it would work the same way going down. The note before this is an F, and then an E, and then a D, and then a C, and so on. So now we'll do the same thing with the F clef. Remember, it wraps around this note, so that becomes an F. And basically, they're just showing us that. But now that we know the process, we can kind of fill all these in. So this is an F, G, A. We go back to F, E, D, C, B, A, G. Now, it's the alphabet backwards, but A, B, C, D, E, F. And they skip to G, A. Now, the grand staff. Theoretically, they say it's consisting of 11 lines. That is true. But we usually take out the middle line. We put the two staffs, the two clefs up here, the G clef and the F clef. And now they're joined by this space in the middle with an imaginary line running through it. And that's what we call middle C. It's middle C. And I'll demonstrate this. If we know this is an F, okay, on this line, if you go F, G in the next space, A in the next line, B in the next space, then the next line would be middle C. So that's C. If we start up here on this line here, we know that this wraps around G. So this line here is G, and then the note underneath it is F, and then the note underneath that is E, and then the space underneath that is D, and then the line then that would be underneath that would be middle C. So this is where the two clefs meet, and collectively these two are known as the grand staff. Okay, it's the grand staff. And this is usually what we're looking at when we're looking at a piece of music. And so now I will show you that with some examples. All right, so you can see here that I am at our Mother Church website. This is Christ Reformed Church, Candor, New York, where Michael Jones and Ralph Riegel are the pastors. And they have this very helpful page up for this setting of Psalm 69 that we have been using. And we are going to start singing actually this Sunday as our song of confession. So now let's see if this will actually let us listen to it. So here we go.
Save me, O God, the swelling floods break in upon my soul. I sink and sorrows in my head. I see these waters roll, like mighty waters roll. I cry till all my voice is gone, in tears I waste the day. My God, behold, my God, behold, my long years and shorten thy days, and shorten thy delay. They hate my soul without a cause, and still their number grows. More than thy hairs upon my head, and mighty are my foes, and mighty are my foes.
So, frustratingly enough, this is actually my third take because I realized that if you don't click over here, then the mouse doesn't show up on the video, and it was not helpful for me to talk through what I was trying to show you on this without having the mouse pointing at it. So, we just listened to this setting of Psalm 69, and I just want to point out a couple of things just for you to keep in mind and for you to get more familiar with what we're actually looking at when we're looking at a piece of music like this, okay? So we looked at, in the lesson, we learned about the grand staff. So that's the G clef on the top here, the G clef, which wraps around this line, which then is G, right? Because this is wrapping around that. This is the G clef. This second line here from the bottom to the top is G. And the F clef here wraps around. It's the second line from the top to the bottom on this side, and it is the F clef, okay? F clef and G clef. Together, they are the grand staff. The middle line here, theoretically, is then the middle C, which connects both of those staffs together, okay? Now, I'm going to walk you through this in terms of identifying these notes as practice, because this is what you should be doing. Every time you open up the music, you should identify at least some of the notes so that you get better at identifying, just looking at them and then being able to translate what you're seeing into some form of data that you can use. So let's do that, and then I'll run through the acronyms again. But first, it's good practice to start from the bottom to the top. So we're here in the F clef. This is F. If you know what letter in the alphabet precedes F, it's E. And that means that this note here on this space is E. E and then F. And then if we just keep counting up, E, F, G. Okay, so this line here, this space I mean here is G, just above that F line. And then it starts over again. So E, F, G. In Western music, you know that it starts over after G. So this topmost line then is A, and then the space above that is B. So these two notes on the F clef are E and B. Okay? And then for the G clef up here, these two notes that we're starting off with, we know that this is a G on this line. So this one's already given away for us, but we're going to be disciplined and start from the bottom and go to the top. So the first line here from G, if we know what just precedes G, it's F. And then what precedes F is E, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We know that this note here is E, and then the space is F, and then the line that comes after it is G. So then we know that these two notes are E and G. So all four of these notes together then are E, B, E, and G. Okay? F clef wrapping around this line, which is F, and G clef wrapping around this line, which is then G. Now, we have some acronyms to remember this, make it a little bit easier. For the F clef, the acronyms are, ready? Good, boys, do, fine, always. Good, boys, do, fine, always. That's G, B, D, F, A. G, B, D, F, A. Good, boys, do, fine, always. And the spaces are all cows eat grass. All cows eat grass. Okay? Good, boys, do, fine, always. All cows eat grass. G, B, D, F, A. A, C, E, G. So if we're going to use the acronyms to figure out what the notes are, they're both spaces, so we could just use the spaces. All cows eat, so this is E. All cows eat grass, so that top space is G. And then the next line is A, and then the next space must then be B. So it'd actually be easier to use the lines for that one. Good, boys, do, fine, always, the top line, and then the next note is B. There's no good acronyms for these that I know of. It's not really useful to learn them as far as like the ledger lines, the ones above the staff, but you just figure them out. And eventually, the more you do it, you'll just know that this is a D, this is a D, this is an E, this is a B, etc. Okay? So, good boys do fine always. All cows eat, so this one's E, grass. We know that the top line here is A, good boys do fine always. And so the next space then must be B. So that's F clef. Good boys do fine always. All cows eat grass. G clef, okay? Every good boy does fine. Every good boy does fine. E, G, B, D, F. Pretty easy for this one. Every, so this is E, good, G, E, G. Every good boy does fine. For the spaces, it just spells face. F-A-C-E. F-A-C-E. So let's do these two. We know it's a space, so we're going to use our acronym FACE, and it's the first space, so it's F. And then this one is a line, so every good boy, B, it's a B. So an F and a B, okay? That's how you would remember that. Now, just a note, because it can be a little bit confusing whenever you're looking at these pieces of music, especially these fuguing tunes. They're not always lined up with each other. So up here, it's pretty simple because you have all the notes are lined up. So it's easy. This is the top line. This is the second one down, and then top, and then second one down, right? So we break those down: soprano, alto, tenor, bass. The topmost line on the G clef is the soprano, and the line underneath that here, that is the alto. And for the F clef, the topmost line up here, that's the tenor, and the line underneath that is the bass. So we have soprano, alto, tenor, bass. Okay? So usually we don't have to, it's easy to see which is which, usually. But when we're doing fuguing tunes, these ones that have all the lines kind of doing their own thing, then we have to be able to delineate which line is which. So the way that they do that is by the stems. You can see these things sticking off here. That's a stem. Okay? The stems that go down are the bottom parts, and the stems that go up are the top parts. So we know soprano is the top of the G clef, okay? That's the top line. So if we're looking up here, this is the soprano line, the top one. And so that's the stem's going to be going up. So you can see up here, this is soprano. The stems are going up. And down here, the tenor, the top part of the F clef is the tenor. The stems are going up. Okay? And then the alto line, you can see it here, down here really. The stem is going down, okay? That's the alto line. And for the bass, the stem is going down. You can see that, okay? So it's telling you which is which. Now, you'll notice this one has a stem going up and a stem going down. That just means that the tenor and the bass are singing the same note, okay? So the tenor and the bass are singing the same note. And it's the same up here with the soprano and the alto. They're singing the same note, okay? So now if we're just going to listen to this, let's just choose the, we'll do the alto line, okay? The alto line. So, and we'll just follow along as they sing. Okay, ready? Bass, tenor, soprano, and alto. Okay. That's the alto line. Now, of note, I just want to point this out. This is a little bit of a tricky one here. This is the bass line. Remember, the stems are going down. This is the tenor line. The stems are going up. But notice what happens here. The bass line, the stem going down, is actually above the tenor with the stem going up. So the bass would be singing here. Da, 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 da. And the tenor would sing da 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 da. So you can see how the tenor goes down, bass goes up. They actually cross paths. And you know that because the stems tell you. The stem tells you that this one is the bass and this one is the tenor. Okay? So one last thing, when you practice, choose a part. If you have a higher voice as a lady, then try the soprano and learn it. And if you have a lower voice as a lady, then try the alto and learn it. Force yourself to match the pitch. Okay, just listen. Just match the pitch. Just try your best to do that, okay? And sometimes you just need to practice doing that. It's a coordination issue. Sometimes it's hard to match the pitch. Just force yourself to try and find it. Eventually, it'll become easier to do that. Okay, match the pitch. Just learn that part. That part, whatever part you learn, is going to be the melody for you, okay? Whenever you sing Psalm 69, you're going to sing your part. You're going to sing the alto if you're a lady with a lower voice. And that's going to be the melody you associate with this. There's no harm in learning the other parts, and you could learn the actual melody, which would be the tenor line. But for our purposes right now, and for the sake of learning to sing parts, just focus on one part and try to associate that with the melody for you. And you can do that with every song that we sing in church. If you're learning the alto, then you can do that for every song we sing each week. And whenever we sing it together, you can sing the alto part and it'll sound harmonious. And that's what we want to do. And it's not going to be easy to do at first. It may not even sound good at first, and that's okay. We're moving in a direction. We're looking for progress, not perfection, right? But just practice. It just takes time. And so if you're a man and you have a higher voice, then go ahead and learn the tenor line, which is the melody in this case. The tenor line has the melody to this song. And then if you have a lower voice, then go ahead and learn the bass part. Okay? So higher voice, that's the top line for a lady. You'll learn the soprano. If you have a lower voice as a lady, go ahead and learn the alto. And if you have a higher voice as a man, learn the tenor. If you have a lower voice as a man, then learn the bass. And then this Sunday, whenever we come together, and for the whole month of November, we're going to be singing this for our confession song, and we can do it. It's going to sound great. All right. So as always, let me know if you have any questions, and sing away.
Save me, O God, the swelling floods break in upon my soul. I sink and sorrows on my head, like mighty waters roll, like mighty waters roll. I cry till all my voice is gone, in tears I waste the day. My God, behold, my lonely eyes, and shorten thy delay, and shorten thy delay. They hate my soul without a cause, and still their number grows. More than thy hairs upon my head, and my